Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. A big potential trade could happen in this upcoming off season, and that player could very well be on the way out of his first and only club at this point in time, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, it could be Giannis Antetokounmpo. It just might be. I want to talk about Giannis. I want to talk about key destinations that he could go to, that we could see him go to. I want to talk about how realistic it could be. I also want to talk about which team I would like to see him go to when it comes to a potential trade. Oh boy, let's get into it. It's Giannis time. But before we get any further, if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Giannis Antetokounmpo and where do you think he will land in this upcoming free agency, if you think he gets traded. Because the very first team I'm going to talk about is the Milwaukee Bucks. Of course, there has to be a realistic opportunity where Giannis stays with the Milwaukee Bucks. Why? Well, it could very well be Giannis' decision to stay in Milwaukee. He has said in the past that he'd like to be, I guess, a Milwaukee Bucks for the rest of his career. Turns out things change when you're probably at the twilight of your career, got a couple of very good years left in you, and you want to compete for championships, and Milwaukee just doesn't seem like the right destination at this point in time. But you have to stick with what Giannis may have said in the past, and that could very well be he wants to stay in Milwaukee. And I don't care what anybody says. You could throw all the stories out there in the world about Giannis Antetokounmpo right now. You could say he's going to this team and that team and every other team except the Bucks. You cannot tell me deep down in the heart of Giannis Antetokounmpo that there isn't love for the Milwaukee Bucks there, and that there isn't some piece of him that would be willing to stay this season, this next upcoming season, even if they don't end up getting close to that championship. It's the first time reportedly in his career he's open to a move. Okay? That's fine. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen though. And it doesn't necessarily mean because he's open to it that he's going to force it either. So Milwaukee is still a very big destination that he could land himself in next season. And Milwaukee Bucks fans should at least have some optimism that there's a chance that he stays with Milwaukee. Let's move on to obviously some other teams, and I feel like we may as well get the bias out of the way. I've got the hat on. I always have the hat on, and it's the Chicago Bulls. How realistic is Giannis to the Bulls? The only real hope for Giannis to the Bulls is the fact that he did say in the past he would like to play for the Bulls one day. That's the only reason the Bulls are in this conversation, because compared to every other team I'm going to talk about, the Bulls have nowhere near enough assets to bring in a Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, what would we have that the Bucks would want? Assuming they'd be rebuilding, they might want a Matas Bazelis, maybe our 12th overall pick, maybe the expiring contract with Vucevic to match a salary, if we can even do that. I don't even think we can do that. And maybe we throw in a sign and trade for Josh Giddey in there. Like, I don't know. But the harsh reality is I just don't think we have enough assets to give to the Milwaukee Bucks. I know Bulls fans, there's a lot of people that like to overhype their players and overhype the talent that we have. But compared to every other team and their position, I definitely fear that the Bulls are going to be one of the last options on that list. So I deem it unrealistic, as much as I would like it to happen. I deem it unrealistic, and pretty much the only reason why I'm even mentioning the Bulls is because of past comments Giannis has made. So that's about it, really. I don't think the Bulls have much of a chance in this conversation. I've made a video about Giannis to the Bulls a couple of weeks ago, I think now, and I just don't see the solution now. I don't see a possible way for it to happen. But hey, the NBA and Giannis and the Bulls, prove me wrong if you can. Let's move on. Another team that I think could potentially be a good place, but also a place I don't see him going to, is the Brooklyn Nets. Why are we mentioning the Brooklyn Nets and Giannis Antetokounmpo? Well, I think it has been said that Giannis wants to kind of go to a big franchise. I know Brooklyn is not seen as a big franchise, but they're in a big market. They're a big market team. New York, Brooklyn, big markets. Obviously, you know, when you go to the LA, sure, the Clippers are not a big team, but they're in a big market. And the Lakers are in a big market as well. It makes sense in that regard. So Brooklyn could be that destination. And Brooklyn are one of the only teams that can truly, I guess, afford a Giannis Antetokounmpo at the moment. So basically they have probably the most leverage in terms of a trade. They have a lot of young assets, a lot of picks that they could kind of deal with, and they have the most cap room, which means, I guess for them, they don't necessarily have to try to match salaries or anything like that. So it gives them extra leverage. It gives them extra power in this situation. But the reason why I can't see Brooklyn being I guess, a legitimate place for Giannis is, one, if you get Giannis to Brooklyn, do they become a championship contender? I mean, personally, Milwaukee is better than the Brooklyn Nets, even without Giannis, I think. So I would say the answer is no. I don't think they become a championship contender. I think they become a bona fide playoff team, but I don't see them really being much else there. And I just don't know why Brooklyn would put all their eggs in that one basket unless they could find a way to build around it. We'll have to wait and see. But Brooklyn might be onto something there. But for now, I would say Brooklyn would not be a championship team with Giannis Antetokounmpo on it. And that is just as simple as it gets in that regard. So we can move on there too. It's a bit of a difficult conversation there for Brooklyn. But again, they probably have the most leverage in terms of a trade. So if Milwaukee are just looking for their best interests, Giannis is off to Brooklyn. But if it's basically Giannis having an input, there's going to be more than just Giannis there if they're going to try to lure him to Brooklyn. They need more than that. We'll see if they could get more than that. I want to turn to now two teams that I think could potentially go for a Giannis Antetokounmpo. The first team is the Houston Rockets. Houston were the second seed in the Western Conference and they got eliminated. And they got eliminated by a Warriors team who, yes, did have Jimmy Butler, are a decent team. But let's be honest, as a second seed, you should be dealing with the Golden State Warriors. And I know it was a close series and, it went to Game 7 and whatnot. The Warriors made some stupid decisions in that round to extend the series, and Houston almost took advantage of it. But getting eliminated in the first round when you're the second seed definitely stings. Now, the Rockets have an amazing young core. A young core that the Bucks would love to have some pieces of that into their team. And, of course, with young assets in there, I think the Rockets would be willing to take this risk because they have a window here. They have a window of opportunity where if you get a Giannis Antetokounmpo, you're a genuine championship team depending on who you get rid of. And with the Bucks, a legitimate window to rebuild your franchise and get a kickstart on that by getting young guys like, for example, Şengün. If the Rockets are willing to trade Şengün for a Giannis or potentially a couple of other guys, maybe Green and whatnot, there's a genuine conversation there for the Houston Rockets and for the Milwaukee Bucks, where young talent and a head start for both teams could be ideal. So I wouldn't rule out Houston, and I actually think they are a really good destination for Giannis. Also, I cannot ignore the fact that Giannis with the Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, that Bucks fan base is ridiculously loyal to Giannis Antetokounmpo, and there's something amazing about being a certain place for most of your career and, the fans backing you to the moon and back. There's a lot of teams that don't even get that, and that's how I feel with Milwaukee and Giannis. I think Houston is that type of team as well, where their fans are going to go absolutely nuts for Giannis every game. And I think there's something amazing about that. They did it with James Harden. Even every time when they lost, the amount of support they showed to James Harden at his time there is unbelievable. So, yeah, I think Houston is a good destination for them. The last team I want to talk about, no, it's not the Golden State Warriors. I've seen the rumors. They're not getting Giannis. It'd be stunning if the Warriors went anywhere near Giannis at this point. It's going to be the San Antonio Spurs. I think it's the obvious answer. And oh my goodness, would they be ridiculously scary if they have a front court of Giannis and Wembanyama, or I guess power forward and center of Giannis and Wembanyama. I mean, the Greek Freak and the French Giant. I mean, this is ridiculous. What the NBA is cooking up there, I've got no idea. But the Spurs are also a team that has a lot of young assets that could kickstart for the Bucks and their own picks. They got the second overall pick and they've got the 14th overall pick in this upcoming draft, and this is a strong draft, so they could use both of those picks. And oh my goodness, even with De'Aaron Fox as well, like that team is dangerous. It's quick. It's mobile. It's lethal. It's a team that I would be petrified of next season if that was the team that was going to be facing. I would be I would be counting my blessings because we're in the East. The Bulls are in the East. Because I do not want to face that Spurs team with that team in place and everybody's playing and being healthy. So I think the Spurs have a legitimate conversation there, and I think they're one of the other teams that could afford a Giannis. Of course, they'd probably have to go to the luxury tax to do it, but the Spurs are an organization that cares about winning, so they'd probably go and do that, and they'll go and win. I think it's a dangerous, dangerous team. Oh my goodness! Me thinking about it actually brings me shivers. So the Spurs is a destination point for him as well. So those are the teams that I think are probably more likely than others to get in the conversation and have a discussion about this. Some of them are realistic, some of them not so. We'll see where he ends up landing. It could very well still be just with Milwaukee. Thank you. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.